Hello, I'm Sara Meister, Aperture's new Executive Director, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to our 2021 Virtual Gala. Photography matters today more than ever. No medium can match its ability to register our individuality and to represent the various stories we refer to cumulatively as history. Since 1952, Aperture has been a, quote, common ground for the advancement of photography. We remain dedicated to deploying photography in pursuit of tolerance and justice. As a nonprofit, we rely on the generosity of individuals like you to continue this essential work. Please take a moment and let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat. I'd like to begin by thanking our gala co-chairs, Board Chair Kathy Kaplan and her fellow trustees Julie Bedard, Kate Cordson, Lyle Ashton Harris, and Lisa Rosenblum. They join me in thanking our lead sponsor Ingram and the other dedicated partners whose logos you see here. There are a handful of individuals whose exceptional generosity deserves special mention, including our trustee Tom Schiff for his $50,000 matching grant, and our champions, Kathy Kaplan, Lisa Rosenblum, and Judy and Leonard Lauder. Thank you all so much. Aperture is fortunate to have a wide and passionate base of supporters, and we are grateful to everyone whose name appears here. I'd like to highlight all those giving to Aperture for the first time, and those who gave in my honor. This outpouring of support means so much to me and is essential to Aperture's future. I have a particular affection for one of Aperture's founders, Dorothea Lange, who believed in photography's power to make this world a better place. We continue to pursue this through our quarterly magazine, through our publication program, and through gatherings, now often online, that foster a sense of community and connection between all those who care about this unruly medium. From the beginning, Aperture's editors declared their attentiveness to the professional and the amateur, pictorialist and documentarian, journalist and scholar. Our choice not to have a theme this year honors the democratic breadth of this legacy, bringing forward artists and collectors who mirror the very diversity of photography. Sara Cwynar probes the seductiveness at the heart of the medium, the ways in which photographs both reveal truths and subvert them. Graciela Iturbide attends equally to art and activism. Her decades-long career brings insight and empathy in equal measure. And Ken Montague has long supported artists of the African diaspora, showing us how a caring collector can be a force for good. We thank each of our honorees for the inspiration they bring to our lives and for their trust in Aperture. On Monday, in collaboration with Magnum Photos, we launched our Square print sale, which is live for 1 week only. I was honored to choose the theme and to curate Aperture's selection. There's an irresistible mix by artists who have never previously participated and new work from familiar favorites. This is an extraordinary opportunity to live with original prints by beloved photographers and to support Aperture at the same time. I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you that this is one of many ways to support Aperture. You can donate via text tonight or online at any time. You can bid on works offered through our benefit auction on Artsy or through the Square print sale. You can subscribe to Aperture Magazine, you can become a member, and all of this allows us to continue the work that we do. I'd like to conclude by thanking all of my colleagues who worked tirelessly to make this event and last night's in-person gathering such a success. To the entire Aperture staff, thank you for your amazing professionalism and good cheer, ensuring that our magazine, books, and everything else we do happens at the highest level, even during these exceptionally trying times. All of us at Aperture extend thanks to our lead sponsor, Ingram, and the valued partners whose logos you see here. We are so grateful to everyone who has supported our 2021 Gala. Thanks to your generosity, together we can harness photography's power in pursuit of a more just, more joyful world. And now, here we go. We're thrilled all of you are here with us tonight.
Hello and welcome. My name is Kate Cordson. I'm an artist and Aperture trustee. Along with fellow board members, I want to thank you for your support and the important and vital work that Aperture does. With very special thanks to tonight's co-hosts, Julie Bedard, Lyle Ashton Harris, Lisa Rosenblum, and board chair Kathy Kaplan. Like all of you, I truly value the network of artists and ideas for which Aperture provides a platform. Through the quarterly magazine, through the many amazing books that Aperture publishes, and through engaging online content. Each of these are opportunities that Aperture provides to all of us to connect to important work and a wide-ranging artistic community. Photography connects us to the world, and Aperture connects us to photography. With that in mind, this evening, you'll have the opportunity to support Aperture by bidding on works by an amazing group of photographers, each of whom widely celebrated and proudly part of the extended Aperture community. My fellow board member, Dawood Bey, has had an incredible year with a wonderful solo show at the Whitney Museum and a powerful exhibition currently up at Sean Kelly. The portrait he has made here available is a marvelous example of the profound connection he makes with the people and places he photographs. The next piece is by internationally renowned artist Carrie Mae Weems, whose work has received countless awards and accolades. Her contributions were essential to Aperture's publication of To Make Their Own Way in the World, the Enduring Legacy of the Zélie Daguerreotypes. This is a rare opportunity to have this extraordinary artist's work in your collection. Graciela Iturbide, one of tonight's honorees, is a visionary artist with whom Aperture is delighted to be working and publishing again this upcoming year with her own volume of the Photography Workshop book series. And of course, Sara Cwynar, another revolutionary artist we honor here tonight. We're ecstatic to have published her gorgeous monograph, Glass Light, this past spring. This auction piece is particularly unique in how Sara has absorbed the representation of the book itself into the work. It's mesmerizing. These are just a few examples of the images available to you through the generosity of the artists who have participated in the Aperture online auction at Artsy. Not only could you bring one of these outstanding works home, but each purchase supports Aperture and the far-reaching work that we do. Of course, there's other ways to support Aperture. You can donate by texting the word Aperture to 44-321. And now, I'd like to welcome my fellow co-hosts, Lyle, Kathy, and Julie, who will introduce the individuals we're honored to pay tribute to tonight.
There is like an organic and intuitive and awareness and sensibility to the work that is, I think, matched in its discipline and its rigor and its research.
Hi, my name is Lyle Ashton Harris. I'm an artist, professor at NYU, and a Aperture trustee. As someone who values an expanded and critical use of the photographic image, I'm very pleased to introduce our honoree, Sara. She is able to make work that is simultaneously beautiful and conceptually rigorous. Glass Life, her first major monograph, recently published by Aperture, is a wonderful book that showcases and unpacks Sara's work at its most complex. It is a fantastic book that also showcases Aperture's commitment to publishing relevant, cutting-edge, and critical work that challenges and expands our understanding of the photographic image.
In her work, with all of its fantastic layers and bits and parts and so many images overlaid on top of one another, she shows us this way of dealing with images in our contemporary world. She seems to have a mind like no other, where she's constantly taking in these images, these pieces, these fragments of language from our world, and bringing them forward to us in a way that we haven't been able to make sense of ourselves.
I recognize that Sara is someone who is constantly renegotiating. Sara is constantly renegotiating how images should work and what our responsibility is to them, and as well the ways in which imagery and image making can fail. And that I think also is really, really important, because we oftentimes situate images as being fixed points within a kind of cultural constellation. And what Sara shows us is that the ways in which we disrupt these images is our responsibility to them, to not allow image making to be a neutral act, nor for the images to stand in neutrality, right? To make assumptions about their neutrality or universality, but rather to see them as documents that are site specific. I appreciate too that, Aperture in this moment has continued to champion some of the greatest voices of this generation and the next. And Sara really is part of that work.
I think that we operate in a world in which it can be really easy for talented women artists to minimize their accomplishments. And I think that Sara is not somebody to stop and enjoy what she's done, because she constantly has the drive to be better, and I admire her for that. But I really think that it's so deserved and so wonderful that Aperture and the art world at large are stopping to say, hey, this work is incredible. You are incredible, and you deserve to be honored in this way.
Hello, I'm Sara Cwynar, and I want to thank Aperture today for honoring me. Their role as an organization and as a group of people has meant so much to me, both in my current work as an artist and in my formative years as a person still figuring out what it could mean to take photographs. There was a time when I gave myself a one-woman photography education via Aperture's magazines and books, and it remains somewhat surreal to be honored today. Particularly important, I think, is Aperture's democratic potential to exist outside of the spaces of museums and galleries, and to bring photography to so many people. This year I had the opportunity to publish my book, Glass Life, with Aperture. For me, it was a unique chance to put down so much of my thinking and research and image making together into one place and one form that can then be handed over to someone else. It's not easy to make a book, and it takes a lot of energy, chance, and intense commitment from everyone involved in the many, many steps of the process. I'm so proud of the object I now have in the world that would never have happened without the support of Aperture. I'm thankful to them for seeing in my work something that could be gathered, written about, and reproduced for many more people to see and experience. That's really all an artist can ask for. I know that photographs will continue to be at the center of our knowable world and central to the ways we think of and remember the things that happen to us. I also know that Aperture will continue to be a guiding force in how we understand these things, and I'm deeply honored to be a part of that. Thank you.
I'm thrilled that Aperture is honoring Graciela Iturbide. For sure, everyone who spends time with Graciela is going to feel embraced by her warmth. She is luminous.
Hello, I'm Kathy Kaplan. I chair the Board of Trustees of Aperture Foundation. One of the things I love about Aperture is its deep history in photography, its 70-year history, and its international reach. In 1987, Aperture first published the photographs of Graciela Iturbide, and in 1996 we published a monographic issue and a book on Graciela's work, Images of the Spirit. This coming spring, we are publishing a book in our photography workshop series of Graciela's work, wisdom, and words on photography. In February 2020, we were honored, a group from Aperture, to be welcomed by Graciela into her home and studio. It was certainly, for me, a highlight of the trip. Graciela, I admire you as a woman, an activist, and a photographer. and I am thrilled that you have agreed to be an honoree for our benefit this fall. So it is with great honor that I welcome Graciela, who is a deep part of the Aperture family.
Quiero agradecer a Aperture el reconocimiento que me han dado, del cual me siento muy orgullosa. Conozco a Aperture desde hace tiempo. De hecho, una de mis primeras exposiciones que hice de imágenes del espíritu lo hice en Filadelfia gracias a Aperture, a Melissa Harris, que estuvo atendiendo mi exposición, y a Michael Hoffman. Estoy muy contenta de estar en la gala que hace Aperture, siendo yo galardonada con esto. Y quiero decirles que mi ilusión es seguir fotografiando mientras tenga toda la intensidad de captar con sorpresa todo lo que veo. No sé si he evolucionado o no como artista. Lo que sí es que he cambiado poco a poco de temas según lo que me va interesando en la vida y lo que me va sorprendiendo. De nuevo, quiero darle las gracias a Aperture por este reconocimiento tan importante, del cual me siento muy orgullosa. Muchísimas gracias.
What I most admire about Graciela's photography is her empathetic approach to the medium. We can see this in her deep connection with her subjects. I love that every one of her photographs has an element of the unexpected. Graciela's camera makes visible to us what would have otherwise been invisible. She uses photography as a way of seeing and understanding life. And when she photographs Mexico, she tells us a visual story, and her visual story, of Mexico's rich syncretism, diversities, inequalities, beauty, challenges, and contradictions. Graciela's powerful and poetic work is an absolute inspiration. She's a mentor, a teacher, a confidant, and a friend to so many of us.
Her remarkable work, whether on the Cholo culture in East LA, Frida Kahlo, or the remarkable matriarchal society of Juchitán, for example, intimately and sensitively celebrates both feminism and indigenous cultures, always with an extraordinary sense of place. Ultimately, her evocation of her country, its people, and its traditions is unparalleled. I can't wait to see the book Aperture is doing with her for their workshop series.
Graciela is definitely a dear friend, but I recognize she's a great master that has a feminine view of the world, and she has conveyed through photography those ideas and those feelings. The beauty and the truth and the honesty that you felt through all the work, it's amazing. I would say that those are the best qualities in this master's work. I would like to say this in Spanish. Y la maravilla, la profundidad y la maravilla. That is why I think Graciela Iturbide, Mexican photographer, is a master photographer.
As the mainstream art world begins to better understand and sort of recognize Black artists and Black collectors, acknowledging someone like Ken, who's been doing this for a long time and is also philanthropic in his work and supporting institutions, is really meaningful to him, and I think impacts and supports Aperture as much as it impacts and supports Ken as the honoree.
I'm Julie Bédard, and I'm delighted to be on Aperture's Board of Trustees. The photo community in which we all evolve is an incredible ecosystem. It thrives thanks to the participation and passion of so many players, from the artists to the publishers, gallerists, and of course, the collectors. In 1997, Kenneth Montague established the Wedge Collection, a unique collection of art focusing on African diasporic culture and contemporary Black life. The name of this collection came from an experience that I think anyone who has the collecting bug can relate to. How to wedge as much amazing art as possible into the spaces in which we live. Most importantly, though, Ken has created a network that nurtures and supports the artists in the collection. Artists such as Derek Adams, Dawood Bey, Joy Gregory, Dina Lawson, Hank Willis Thomas, Micheline Thomas, Jamel Shabazz, Ming Smith, and countless others. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for setting such a dynamic and generous example of the way collectors can forge a path and create a community that nourishes and preserves these important voices.
His friendship and his insight since 2003 really helped me to grow as a photographer during the early stages of my development. And I saw how not only was he collecting artwork, but how he was showcasing his artwork in exhibitions. So he inspired me to collect, he inspired me to curate, and he inspired me to become more grounded in understanding visual storytelling.
Ken is not only a phenomenal collector and curator and thinker, but he's a great friend. His whole investigation of photography, his investigation of Black art, Black life, and the African diaspora is, again, this investigation of his own life, of himself. And so that personal lens really makes it extremely approachable, I think, for people. The other things that Ken really brings to the table is he's such an advocate. You know, he doesn't just collect the work, but he is an advocate for all of these artists. He's an advocate for Toronto, for Canada, for the Black diaspora, for photography in general.
I think the work that Dr. Montague has done has really stood apart from many collectors who are interested in photography. He really is a pioneer in terms of focusing on work by Black Atlantic photographers and about Black Atlantic histories. Dr. Montague's collection, his approach, his interests really stood apart.
Ken has contributed to the art world, both here in the United States, Africa, and Europe. And he's a wonderful soul, and he has a very important voice, and he's using his platform to make the world a better place. And Aperture has a legacy, almost 70 years of honoring and celebrating artists or those who are contributing to the world of photography. So it's only right that Ken's name was mentioned. We often hear about the photographers, but very rarely do we hear about the collectors and the curators.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Aperture Foundation for this wonderful honor. Aperture has been a major influence in my life, from Diane Arbus's monograph right through to Hank Willis Thomas's recent survey. So it's absolutely thrilling to have worked with Aperture in the creation of my own book, As We Rise. Book editor Denise Wolfe, who I met perhaps a decade ago in West Africa on a bus, and her assistant Lana Swindle, and former director Chris Boot, all deserve thanks for their support and belief. And of course, new Aperture director Sara Meister has been nothing but wonderful. I can hardly wait for what's next. More thanks goes out to my Toronto team, Maria Canelopoulos, Emily Croning, who are my longtime Wedge Collection managers, and to Liz Akiriko, who wrote beautifully for the new publication. I also would like to thank my wife, Sara Arana, for her love and support, and for taking this video right now. My story is reflected in my art collection. I was born in Windsor, a small Canadian city just across the border from Detroit, Michigan, and my parents were both immigrants from Jamaica who arrived in a community where very few people looked like them. So as a family, we were kind of feeling like an island, but there was always art. And I can also recall my father with his phrase, "lifting as we rise," which became a kind of a family motto. By that, I think he meant, as we do well, we should pull up others in the community around us. And so that became the title of the new Aperture publication. I hope that we will all continue to lift and rise and make space for the many stories that still need to be told. Thank you again to the Aperture Foundation and to the many artists who have enriched my life with their important work.
Thank you so much, Lyle and Sara, Kathy and Graciela, Julie and Ken, and everyone who has made these tributes so inspirational. All of this really brings home what we are here to celebrate and to ensure: the continued evolution and growth of the Aperture community. We don't need to be reminded how unusual and challenging the last 2 years have been, and how essential it is for us to rally around the people and creative institutions that we believe in. Please join me in stepping up to support Aperture by text and by bidding on the extraordinary pieces online now at Artsy. We thank tonight's artists, and we thank you for making it possible for Aperture to continue doing what it does best. Have a great evening.
You guys should be dancing. Yeah. If the moon turns green, shadows get up and walk around, clouds come tumbling to the ground, I wouldn't be surprised. 'Cause didn't you fall in love with me? If the stars turn blue and willows that weep begin to sing, winter changes into spring, I wouldn't raise my. 'Cause didn't you fall in love with me? I thought I was foolish to think of romance with someone as charming as you. I thought I was hoping without any chance, then every hope came true. If the moon turns green, rivers begin to flow upstream. This is all some crazy dream, I wouldn't be surprised. Anything can happen if you could fall in love with me. was foolish to think of romance with someone as charming as you. I thought I was hoping without any chance. Then every hope came true. If the moon turns green, rivers begin to flow upstream. This is all some crazy dream. I wouldn't be surprised. Anything can happen if you could fall in love with me.